And one, as advisors, we do expect short-term disappointment. There will be short-term disappointment among people who probably would want to see the changes overnight, but that's not realistic. You will have to wait for at least some amount of time for that change to percolate. It's not to say, I think in our report also what we say is we took around 10 sectors, and those 10 sectors probably represent 70% of the GDP of India. We are 9 out of 10 on the bottom most of almost all these parameters among China, Japan, China, South Korea, Brazil, US. Again, as I said, if you throw in Malaysia, Thailand will not be much different. But I think that's past. What we are seeing right now is national imperatives being set. I heard in the previous session national imperative being discussed in terms of because I think you have to rally around the nation. That's very, very important. What are we seeing from this government? We are seeing Swachh Bharat. Swachh Bharat will make us much more environmentally sensitive. We will make sure that India is much more presentable. There are other follow-on benefits. Hygiene will improve. I think those are important things. So national imperative is very important. What are we saying? We want to make sure 25% manufacturing is there. We can't do it overnight. Skill development is going to be a gap. But that national imperative that we set will then translate into action, which is the next one, which could be enabling other things. Maybe you set up skill development centers, you see which are the best vocational institutes across the globe. There are examples in the US, there are examples in Germany. You partner with them, you get them off the ground. Typically in India, I think getting it off the ground is always an issue. But I think this government looks at maybe tangible measures that it can demonstrate in terms of having been achieved. Case in point, there is ease of doing business is a World Bank measure, wherein right now I think we've actually slipped from last year. Right, we are 142 out of 182. But does that really imply that this government is at fault? No, not really. It will not be an overnight thing. But I think there is a mandate, and given my proximity to the government practice folks, there are certain state governments which have actually mandated setups like ours to say, okay, how can we improve the ease of doing business? And the government, the central government actually wants to improve by 50 points. So I think these are very, very specific things, and they are going ahead targeting, and we have seen across different areas where there are touch points with the corporates. So if I were to put the bottommost layer, which is the building blocks, I think that's very important as well. Like you have to really improve the physical connectivity. You have to improve, enable digital connectivity as well. We are lagging on both these parameters. That will improve. I think it will. Some of these enabling factors will actually improve a whole lot in terms of the other sectoral touch points as well. If you and again, from a policy perspective, what does it mean? It means that you improve infrastructure. You make sure that that sector in which people invested 5-10 years back and they actually became basket cases does not happen. Right? Because anybody and everybody who actually invested in infrastructure, thinking about the infrastructure story, actually went down in terms of became a basket case from and had huge liabilities. So, policy perspective, I think there has to be governmental incentives there. When you look at, I think there's a fundamental research aspect as well that I think you have to make sure that industry linkages are much more stronger. I would have liked that gentleman from FIT was here. I would have actually posed him some questions from myself as well, and I am from that institute, so I think I want to know how that industry academic interaction is actually working, because it's very, very important. One of the single biggest differentiators among the US universities and Indian universities is that you have very low kind of interaction happening between the two setups. And it's not as though our academic institutions are really not in tune, but it's just the marketability. I think that's really lacking. Earlier in the day, we also heard about the educational institutions depending on the government for funding. There is no need. In the US, you have endowment funds, and endowment funds come from alumni. Our educational institutions don't even ask for money. So I think they have to open their mouths and say, okay, all right, we need money, and the alumni will follow. So there are so many things that are there, but from a, I think, standpoint of policy again, what's important is some of the issues that are coming up right now in the domain of digital which actually are talking about net neutrality. I think these are important things because you want to make sure that everybody has a level playing field when it comes to innovation. You have to have IPR laws so that the guy who comes up with an innovation or a patent, I think we can know that he can actually benefit from that. So these are, I think, policy-wise, I think, important things. But I guess from overall standpoint, I think it's going in a positive direction. You have a government, a setup which is much more enabling. So Indian industries have thrived despite, I think, the support. Here now you probably have a support and I think an enabling support. And I think that's where I think the directionally, I think, is poised in the right direction.